Welcome back to Facing Purpose radio show. I'm your host, Lakia Barnett. It is so great to be back before you, and Happy New Year to everybody that is listening right now. I am excited, first of all, to be in the land of the living. I have had one heck of a week, you guys. I think the last show I was fine, and then the next time I turned around, I got sick, you guys, my whole house. But praise be to God, I am sitting here well, I am recuperating fine, and I'm back to doing what it is that I love to do and also what God tells me to do. So I just want to say Happy New Year to all of you guys, and praying that you guys are healthy and well, and praying for your healing if you are not feeling well in your body on this beautiful Saturday night. This is January the 1st. Can you believe that? Like, I can't, because 2022 is here. So I'm excited about my guest on tonight, all the way from the UK. How can y'all say that we touching down in the UK? Like, that's super dope to me. But anywho, I am excited about her. She is an author. She is a podcaster. She does so many different things. We like to call this a woman with many, many hats. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce Miss Tracy Williams. Welcome to Facing Purpose.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Lakia. I am so grateful to be on the show. Thank you for giving me this opportunity tonight. And, you know, it's the first night of the year for us, so I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for me to kick off 2022 with an interview. So thanks for having me.
Yes. And listen, I love your accent, Tracy. Your accent is beautiful. I've never been to the UK. I've heard about the UK, but I've never been there. Would like to go one day if I could get the nerve to sit on a plane that long, okay? For all of everybody who knows me, I'm not a friend of planes very well at all, but we're gonna break that this year. But I would be really excited to visit that place one day. One day I have to go visit. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody, Tracy?
Well, I'm Tracy Williams. I write under the pen name of Tracy DW because as you said, I'm a woman of wearing many hats. I not only write stories for children and I do podcasting, but I'm also a singer-songwriter as well. And writing songs was pretty much how I got into writing from a very young age. But having said that, I've always been an avid reader. I've always had a passion for history, and it is from those two things that my stories, or my story series called Stories to be Told, is actually born from. I have been in education, been working in the British education system for many years now, and I currently work as a deputy head teacher in a school in East London, which is the equivalent of a vice principal, I think, in the States. And after having many years of teaching Black History Month projects in October, because we have Black History Month in October over in the UK, I just became a bit despondent with the way that Black history was being conveyed and was being or not being taught in schools. And there was a particular focus in Black history on American history rather than British history. So I thought, I'm going to do something about this. I've always had a passion for the British Empire and Britain's colonial past, and it has been something that I feel has been a missing link within our education system, particularly in our British education system. And I just got the idea for writing some stories that I hoped would inspire children and would inspire people to learn about the topic in a more imaginative, thought-provoking and engaging way. So as I began to do my research, I did a timeline and structured my story chapters and story titles around that. And one day in January, actually several years ago, back in 2017, I sat down at my desk and began to write the stories. And, as I began to write, I just felt, wow, this is a major piece of work and it really does deserve a platform. Now, at the time, I hadn't thought up of the name Stories to be Told. It was just a set of stories. But, as I began to write it, and it just started to grow from there. And I felt it deserves something more, and that's how I built the website around it and placed mini documentaries and additional learning journeys. And then last but not least, the podcast series came along, and it just opened up a whole new world. It gave a different dimension to the stories, and I use it to complement the stories in terms of the research that didn't go into the stories. I script them and then turn them into a podcast series, and I just invite listeners to come along with me on my learning journey. So the podcasts provide a more dynamic slant, a more dynamic dimension to the stories. And so here I am today talking to you. I have 4 stories out at the moment, which are available on the website: Caribbean Wind, Caribbean Rush, Knights at the Round Table, the Berlin Conference 1884, and Gone with the Wind, which I'm having a special focus on right now in January, because it's not a celebration, but it's like a commemoration of the famous Wind of Change speech by Harold Macmillan that was given in Accra, Ghana in January in 1960. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, that was an amazing intro to letting people know just who you are and what amazing things that you do. So tell me about your podcast. Tell me a little bit about how that kind of started, and what is it about, and what is it like gearing towards?
Well, it was something that I had never considered before. I think the lockdown last year, or rather in 2020, I think that was a catalyst for many people to develop some kind of ambition or aspiration, whether it be writing a book or doing something creative, because obviously we were all at home for such a long time. And I'd never considered doing a podcast. If somebody had told me 2 years ago, you know, Tracy, you're going to be doing a podcast in 2020, you're going to be beginning that, I would have never believed them. But, you know, I had so much research that hadn't made it into the stories. So I thought, well, how can I repurpose all this valuable content? It didn't fit into the story. What can I do with it? And so I thought, well, I'll create some scripts and I'll set up a podcast series and continue my learning journey and continue to share my learning journey with people through that. And also, it provides a human element. It provides a face. It provides a voice. It provides a speaking platform to the stories. And, you know, my format for each episode is quite similar. I, you know, refer to the stories in the content of my episodes. Some of the episodes are not linked to the story. Some of the episodes are linked to, you know, various things that are trending. So, for instance, when Barbados became a republic in October last year, I decided, right, I think that's a very apt thing to do as a podcast focus. And, you know, to be honest, I hadn't learned that much about Barbados because it doesn't really crop up anywhere in any of my stories. So the podcasts really work to fill the gap, as it were, and to bridge the gap between what the stories leave out and what is either currently going on in the world relating to the post-colonial era or what's happened in the past. So that's where and how my podcasts fit in to the whole Stories to be Told movement.
Well, I love how different your podcast sounds, that you kind of try to make it according to the books that you're putting out and what you're really speaking to and what you believe in. So I think that is like super cool to have a podcast like that. So let me ask this question. Has it always been easy? And I know that's probably like, really, Lakia, you asked me, has it always been easy? Because I think that a lot of people don't understand that there's always a story behind the voice that you hear and behind the faces that you see. They didn't just arrive, you know, things happen along the way. So do you want to elaborate a little bit about just like a time that you can just remember where you kind of felt like you were just like, look, I don't know if I should continue doing this. Have you ever felt like that?
Oh yes, I have had moments of self-doubt. I wouldn't be human if I didn't have moments of self-doubt. I mean, one of the challenges that I have isn't so much doing the podcast, but it's fitting it into everything else. I'm a school leader. I'm very, very busy. And even within my role as a school leader, I juggle hats, several hats within that. And I think it's finding a balance that works for me as an individual, which I'm constantly striving to do, to just find the time to, put the work in. But, as you do podcasting, the more and more you do it, and I think that the key is to be regular and consistent and purposeful and continue to plan your workflow. So for instance, I currently have, ideas for the next 8 podcasts, which are going to take me up to Easter this year. So you're constantly planning topics that you want to look at. I have friends and family and acquaintances who come to me and ask me to do special focuses on things. Oh, Tracy, would you consider as a focus for a podcast episode? And, I take on board feedback and, ideas that come my way. I'm very open. It does have quite a tight format, but I'm very fluid and I'm very flexible to anything that is trending and to anything that, people ask me to find out more about and make a special focus of. But yes, there have been times when I've thought, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? Sometimes you get what we call imposter syndrome. There's lots of people who are far more, learned and far more knowledgeable about this subject than you. Why are you doing this? Who is it for? Who's going to listen? And then, I realize, and when I get feedback from people, I feel really encouraged. I feel really, really motivated. I feel really purposeful, because at the end of the day, I'm an educationalist. I'm a black woman. I have a voice, and, I can bring my perspective as an individual as well as an educationalist to that. And some people just can't do that. So, and also there's the authenticity, just being myself and just looking at things and giving my own point of view and just making it engaging and making it understandable and informative. Because that's what a lot of people tell me. They tell me that, oh, we love your podcasts. They're really informative, and they're of a high standard. They really do help to connect the dots and present a more global perspective about the world that we live in today, and we can make connections about the past with what's currently going on today. And I think people have really come to appreciate the podcast series because it's helped them to do the same. It's helped them to make those connections. And so, I just think, it's for people who are just like me. You make podcasts really for people who are just like you, who just want to learn more about a particular topic and don't want to come under any particular stress about it, although in a good way. I take the stress out of the learning because I put the work in to make certain topics more digestible, more concise, and more cohesive. So yes, it is hard at times, but when I get the feedback, when I look at the numbers and the stats, I just know it's all worth it. And that's what helps me to keep going.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think everyone needs that encouragement, because some people, we see things and we have a goal set in mind, but sometimes it may not always start off, the way that we want. But the whole thing is, I love that you use the word consistency. There's consistency behind everything you do, behind everything that you do. So we're going to take a quick break, Miss Tracy. And when we come back, we are going to dive in. I want to know more about these books, because you have a collection of books. But also, I want to know more about like your multimedia platforms. We'll talk about that right after this break.